Cuyahoga County Council Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, April 26, 2022 is now called to order. Andrea, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 2:34 p.m. And as a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Gallagher is absent at the moment. Mr. Schron is absent. Ms. Conwell is absent. Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner is absent at the moment. Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent at the moment. Ms. Simon.
I'm here.
Ms. Baker. Here. Mr. Miller.
Here.
Council President Jones.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Andrea, has anyone signed in for public comment?
No public comment has been received.
All right. Well, welcome to the confirmation hearing at which council will consider the appointment of Alexa Beeler as the Inspector General of Cuyahoga County for an unexpired 4-year term ending December 31st, 2024. For a little background, the agency of Inspector General, as well as the powers, duties, and qualifications of the Inspector General, is established in the Cuyahoga County Charter with further duties and responsibilities set forth in the Cuyahoga County Code. Ms. Beeler has been serving as interim Inspector General since January 11th, 2022. Under the charter, she can serve 120 days as interim without council approval. The interim period expires on May 11th, 2022. The legislation before us today would make Ms. Beeler permanent through the term ending December 31, 2024 upon council confirmation. The hearing process will proceed as follows. The nominee will be offered an opportunity to address her qualifications, motivations for seeking the position, and outlook and plans regarding the office. Council members will then be offered the opportunity to ask questions of the nominee. We will do so in rounds, allowing each council member to ask 2 questions per round until all council questions have been answered. Once all questions have been answered, we will entertain a motion to recommend Ms. Beeler for second reading adoption under suspension of rules at tonight's council meeting. Thank you, and let's begin. Madam Clerk, if you would read the resolution into the record.
Resolution 2022-0087, confirming the county executive's appointment of Alexandra R. Beeler upon her taking the oath of office as Inspector General of Cuyahoga County for the unexpired 4-year term ending December 31st, 2024.
Ms. Beeler, would you please come forward?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Council President Jones and council members, for your time today. My name is Alexa Beeler, and I am so very grateful to be standing here before you today to discuss my qualifications and my hope to be Cuyahoga County's next Inspector General. I am a lifelong resident of Cuyahoga County. I grew up in Lakewood and graduated from Lakewood High School. I was the first in my family to attend college, graduating from The Ohio State University and then Cleveland Marshall College of Law. I married my middle school sweetheart, John, who is now my husband of 15 years. We have 3 beautiful children and currently live in Westlake. I have been a dedicated public servant to Cuyahoga County since I began my legal career. I served for over a decade as the judicial staff attorney for Judge John P. O'Donnell, who presided over the distinguished commercial docket. I effectively managed our intense caseload, which contained a broad array of cases, including those involving fraud and employee claims of retaliation. My priority was always bringing each case to resolution in the most effective and economic way possible. During pretrial conferences, I would evaluate the allegations and identify the necessary facts to determine how to best streamline the path forward, whether it was a path tailored towards settlement or one that required motion practice and a judicial opinion. And if it was the latter and I was tasked with drafting an opinion, I thoroughly and objectively analyzed the facts and the law to recommend a ruling that was right, without regard to any personal agenda or preference to the attorneys who I came to know well over the years. I then served as an assistant law director in the Cuyahoga County Department of Law. I practiced in the contracting, procurement, and real estate group, where I gained a thorough knowledge of the county and the county code, including required county contracting procedures and best practices for full, fair, and open competition. I primarily represented the Department of Development in all its facets, with a particular focus on negotiating and closing its economic development loans. I worked closely with their management level staff to develop and implement processes and completely revamp their existing loan documents to ensure compliance and minimize risk to the county. I was appointed to my current position as Interim Inspector General in mid-January. I am once again managing a demanding caseload, evaluating complaints to determine the best path forward, rendering opinions based on a critical analysis of the facts and law, and utilizing my understanding of county operations to ensure compliance with the county code. I am working with staff to identify and fine-tune the best processes and procedures for the agency's various functions to ensure we are operating as efficiently as possible while also holding ourselves to the highest degree of accountability. By establishing these processes, we have already significantly improved agency operations. We have strengthened our complaint process to ensure that each complaint is addressed timely and with the highest degree of care. We have implemented regular case reviews to ensure our investigations stay the course and are handled effectively and timely while using the appropriate level of resources. These processes have already helped to drive results. We have already surpassed the agency's half-year average of 23 closed investigations by completing 30 investigations in these past 3.5 months alone. Our two previous inspectors general have built a solid foundation for our agency. I hope to build upon their great work by using lessons I've learned along the way. I learned working for Judge O'Donnell that excellent customer service goes a long way in promoting faith in the system. I want our agency to have a customer service focus to ensure that we are a source of trust and confidence. I want people to know that there is no wrong door, and that if they come to us, we will help them to the extent we can, and that in all situations we will be responsive, objective, and thorough, and work diligently to resolve matters timely to bring closure to all involved. I learned working for the law department that the vast majority of our employees are dedicated public servants who are trying to do their best. All our county departments have critically important and extremely hard jobs. When we are looking into the various departments to identify waste or opportunities for fraud, I want to do so collaboratively in a way that supports the department so they can improve their operations and be more preventative and proactive, which will ultimately be in the best interest of the county and its taxpayers. I do not want it to be us against them. I want it to be all of us for Cuyahoga County. I loved working for the court, and I loved working for the law department, but this has been without a doubt the greatest experience of my professional career. I want to thank the county executive for nominating me for this amazing opportunity. I want to thank you all for the chance to come and speak with you today, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Alexa. Are there any questions? Start with Councilwoman Simon.
Thank you. Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
I know you're excited. And can you elaborate why this is a role that you want to play with such enthusiasm? Like, what is it about this professionally that so far has, been a capstone?
Well, this agency is really about promoting trust and faith in the county government. And as a county employee, all of my legal career, I take that mission very personally. Ever since my first job, making very little money, but working very hard, almost law firm hours in order to do a job, the job well, and to hear people talk about, to have a negative view of county employees or county operations. I take it very personally that I want to promote a positive opinion of county employees because I think that the vast majority are very hardworking individuals. And of course, as a taxpayer, I want to see that I'm getting the biggest bang for my buck in county operations. So I take it personally, and I take the mission personally, and I also really like the work.
Great. Thank you. Mr. President, one more question. Are there any changes to the county charter or code that you would recommend making to increase the effectiveness of the county? Any changes to our charter that you would think would be beneficial?
So I actually think it is quite strong. The provisions in the county charter that allow us to have full and unrestricted access to county information and data, coupled with the subpoena power, and then in the county code, we are allowed to require responses from the agencies or from the various departments. And so I think that has set us up very well to be able to do our job effectively and to perform our duties. And at this time, I don't see any changes.
Thank you.
And congratulations also on
Thank
on your
you.
nomination. Back in 2018, we had the legislation 0012 that allowed for the Inspector General to get an answer back within 30 days of any investigation that he was looking into with our agencies. So once you've completed that investigation, what necessary action steps would you take to ensure that the recommendations are at least answered? And if they are answered and perhaps different than what you're thinking the recommendation should be back from the directors, how would you handle that process once you've done your job of looking into it?
So the recommendations that we do make as part of these investigations, they are just that. We don't have any authority to require a department to implement what we have recommended, but as you stated, we do have the authority to require responses. And so if there was a situation where we felt a response was insufficient, I would first try to continue working with the department to see if we could get on the same page for them to proceed in a way that satisfied us, that the reason behind the recommendation was being satisfied. But if not, we would probably ultimately escalate it to the county executive and county council president, because that director would ultimately have to answer to those two bodies, so.
So in how you would handle it then is you wouldn't continue to wait. You would give an appropriate amount of time and then go to the next level if you had to.
Yes.
If I may continue, just another question that I've always found it difficult for the Inspector General and your previous Inspector General, that balance of being appointed by the executive and then confirmed by council, and then if there's any investigations that might relate to either one of us, how do you balance that in being able to keep professional but still also do your due diligence in investigating?
So if we were ever tasked to look at the county executive or a member of county council, we would proceed in the same way as any investigation, which is fairly objectively trying to exhaust all possible avenues to obtain all of the facts so that we could peel back the onion and see what exactly has occurred. And then we would write a report based on those facts, analyzed against the law. I mean, it would certainly, I think with this job, there is a guaranteed level of unpleasantness that comes with it. And certainly that is not what anybody would desire to do, but it's unpleasant to investigate anybody. I think if somebody was in this role and was excited to go after people, I think that would be questionable as to whether they should be in this role. So unfortunately, that's part of the job. So we would handle it as we would handle any investigation.
Good, thank you, it's a good answer, appreciate it.
All right, thank you for being here today. Luckily, I had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Beeler a few weeks back prior to any of this stuff, so I feel very confident in her ability to handle this role. One question I asked then, and I'll ask again, is the office itself, do you think you have enough help, enough other folks helping you out in the office itself to adequately perform your duties, or would you envision adding anybody to the office to help speed processes along or do investigative research and such?
So it's hard to be able to answer that at this moment, just because we are doing a lot of things currently that are more or less one-time things. We are looking at, there was a body of cases that we inherited that were pretty aged, so we're working through those. And once we are caught up in current, I think that things will be moving a lot smoother. We're also working to implement a lot of processes and procedures to be able to handle the influx of matters. And then we're working to build our continuous monitoring program using data analytics. And that will always require resources, but it is very heavy on the resources up front. So I would think that once everything leveled out and was operating the way that I envision it to be operating, I think that we will be okay, but I can't say that for certain right now. Right now, there is a lot of work. It is, but I think because we are focusing on these one-time these one-time priorities, I think it will level out at some point.
Okay, and then if I could just have one follow-up question, and this kind of just goes off gear just a little bit, but as you know, you're been nominated by one executive, and like Ms. Simon said, another executive will come in, whomever, at the beginning of next year. What do you intend to do as far as establishing a new relationship with a new executive who might have different ideas, different viewpoints on, what this role entails? So do you plan on any meetings or what have you as far as a new executive goes? Because it's going to be a different personality, different agenda.
Certainly. So I would say that because we are independent, to the extent that there is a different agenda or different priorities, I don't think that would affect us much, or I don't foresee a way that it could. I mean, as it is now, Armin's priorities Executive Butis's priorities don't affect what we do. We are working to perform our duties under the code and the charter. And I will say I have not even met either one of any of the candidates for the new county executive. So once a new county executive comes on board, I think my main focus would be just making sure that they understood the ethics code, and so that they can conduct themselves accordingly. But as far as priorities, I don't think that would affect us directly, just because we are independent.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to Ms. Beeler. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your appointment for this very important office, and to say that I'm impressed by the level of command and understanding of the office's operations that you've shown in a short time, and also to thank you for your advice and assistance on the whistleblower legislation, which hopefully is going to pass later today. And the question I have is, what do you consider the most likely and most serious threats for ethical problems that the county might run into over the next couple years, and how can we effectively head them off?
So, to be honest, I'm not quite sure what the most likely to be. We do have issues across the board. There's conflicts of interest issues, and there could be possible abuse of official position or misuse of county resources. But as far as what is most likely, I wouldn't be able to say. I think that we should, obviously our agency will have to anticipate anything to be able to teach and advise accordingly. But I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I think you named three that are things that have to be taken very seriously, so I think you're on top of it. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
Any further questions in this first round? Well, Ms. Beeler, I'll ask one. Mine centers around the subject of debarments. Just in general, tell us how many there have been currently under your office, the main reason for these debarments.
So there are currently 21 contractors debarred. Out of those 21, 19 are as a result of our work with the Fishbowl Project, which is a tax collection initiative where we assist the prosecutor's office, the fiscal office, and the treasurer's office in the collection of delinquent taxes, commercial entities' delinquent taxes. So that is our effort with that initiative has provided 19 out of 20, the most matters for contractors currently debarred. There is one contractor currently debarred for lack of business integrity. One of the company's employees had contacted our agency and had advised our agency that they weren't paying their employees, and so the agency decided to debar that contractor. And then the last one was a result of contractor background checks. We found that there was misconduct that led us to debar the contractor.
When we built debarment into the county government, probably 8 years ago or so, at the time we were looking to address things of the past, and again to deal with obviously things coming towards the future. One of those issues were front companies.
Yes.
Have you debarred anyone for an allegation of being a front company?
I will have to look back to see if the agency has ever debarred somebody for that reason. Currently, there are no contractors debarred because of that, but that certainly is a violation that would lead to a 3-year debarment, so.
Just last on this subject.
Council President, could you speak louder into the microphone, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
What is the status of the Debarment Review Board? And when is the last time one of your office's debarments was appealed by the board? Appealed to the board?
So the board appears to be inactive, and that's actually something that is a focus of our agency, is to get that reestablished before we choose to move forward with any other debarments, just so that review board is in place if there were to be an appeal. With that said, there has not been an appeal to that board since 2014. I think September of 2014 was the last time that board heard an appeal. But that does have to be reactivated.
Okay. Any further questions? Councilman Sweeney.
Interim Inspector General, thank you for coming and congratulations.
Thank you.
Just on when you mentioned the whistleblower, and Dale mentioned what are your priorities, the one thing we learned through the whistleblowers, the lack of awareness that our coworkers have in regards to the whistleblower. I'd like to recommend through my chair and my colleagues that we have some kind of protocols in place or information dissemination to go out to share exactly what the whistleblower legislation looks like now and how everyone could have an opportunity to understand it and try to give it its most impactful results. Does that make some sense?
It does make absolute sense, and actually that legislation goes for third reading tonight, and upon the third reading, if it passes, we will make sure to adjust our training accordingly and make sure that everyone is aware of the responsibilities under that ordinance. There are also increased responsibilities for supervisors and HR related to the whistleblower legislation. So that is definitely something that we will be doing as soon as we see what happens tonight.
Thank you. And one follow-up? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would this be an accurate statement? Your nice demeanor being perceived as a pushover would be at their own peril?
I think that it would be an accurate statement to think that.
Thank you. I just wanted to see, I delivered the message and I thought that's what I wanted to share. That in this position through the chair, it's very serious, and I know you take it very serious. And from
Absolutely.
the time I had the privilege of working with you with this piece of legislation, and I know you're going to do your job well. I fully support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Ms. Beeler, the Inspector General was given subpoena power by the charter by amendment in 2018. How many times has your office actually used that power?
We have actually never had to use that.
Never had.
I think it's because we have the power to issue a subpoena if we do not, if we're not able to receive the information we need cooperatively. And so I think the last, we've only had to make it as far as threatening to use it in order to be able to receive that to which we're entitled.
Any other tools, obviously, just the threat.
The threat, but short of that, just really trying to work cooperatively with the department, explaining why we are entitled to the information or the data. And if we still receive pushback, then yes, that's when the threat would happen. We recently had a situation where the department pushed back because it wasn't sure that we were legally entitled to receive the information. And so the department sought the guidance from the law director, and he asked the appropriate questions and made the appropriate determination that we were entitled to receive it. We didn't even need to threaten subpoena power at that point. We are happy to answer questions if somebody feels we're not entitled to something. But just, I always try to work collaboratively first, and if not, we've never had to make it past the threat of the subpoena in order to gather what we need.
Tell us, what is your current staffing level?
So we currently have one vacancy. If that position was filled, it would be a staff of 8.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Again, any other questions?
I do. That's
Councilwoman?
okay?
Yes.
On your resume, you indicate that you coordinated with the governor's staff a news media release of a criminal verdict. What was that case?
It was the Michael Brelo case.
Okay.
Yes. And my role there was, so obviously it was a matter of international attention. It was very sensitive, and we were under a high degree of scrutiny. And so my role was just making sure that the date and time of the release of the verdict was kept confidential, and only those individuals that needed to know did know. So the governor's office, the governor had deployed the National Guard for the release of that verdict, and also had assembled the state SWAT team. So we knew that those were his plans all along, and so I coordinated with his staff to make sure that they knew when that was happening, and also out-of-town news media that required some travel time, and they were, of course, required to keep that strictly confidential.
As a follow-up, Mr. President, in terms of the media and being questioned by the media, there's going to be times when there's sensitive cases you're investigating.
Yes.
Do you have an understanding of the balance between speaking to the media and also there's times when you shouldn't be speaking to the media about the sensitivity of a matter and simply just say, no comment?
Correct. I do. Absolutely. And when matters are completed, when investigations are completed, they're a matter of public record. And so to that extent, providing somebody with something that is public record would likely be the farthest I would go in actually commenting on something that we handled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, your microphone.
Describe the organizational chart for your department. What is the reporting structure?
So there is, 7 of the 8 staff members report directly to the first assistant, Deputy Inspector General, who reports directly to me, or to the Inspector General.
Whom do you report to?
I don't directly report to anyone. I have to answer to council, of course.
All right.
But yes, I don't
All right.
directly report to anyone.
All right. Are there any further questions? Well, you are a known quantity. I will say that. And as Councilman Tuma mentioned, we've all had opportunity to meet with you over the course of the months and have gotten a certain comfort level with you and with your experience. So at this time, if there are no further questions, we are going to proceed. Okay. At this time, we will entertain a motion to recommend resolution number R2022-0087 to the full council for second reading adoption under suspension of rules at tonight's council meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Properly moved and seconded. If there's any further discussion? If none, Madam Clerk, please conduct a roll call.
Calling the roll, Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Tuma.
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Schron. Mr. Schron is absent. Ms. Conwell is absent. Ms. Turner is absent. Ms. Stevens is absent. Ms. Simon,
Yes.
Ms. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Council President Jones.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
This time, are we going to have our swearing in? Oh, I apologize. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. Okay, well, we'll see you this evening. All right. I know, right? Try to get out. All right. At this time, we have our executive session. All meetings of the Cuyahoga County Council are open to the public under the Ohio Open Meetings laws. Under that law, council may go into executive session during a meeting for specifically authorized purposes. During executive session, council confers outside of the hearing of the public. Council may not make any decisions about any matters in executive session. All decisions are made in public. This afternoon, the council will go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters, pending or imminent litigation.
Excuse me, Council President. Can everyone please be quiet? Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead, Council President.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And purchase of sale of property. During this time, our live stream will be down, and we ask all those not specifically needed for the executive session to remain in council chambers. Council members will convene in the adjacent Committee Room A and will re-enter the meeting once the executive session has ended. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing collective bargaining matters pending or imminent litigation and purchase or sale of property?
I so move.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Calling the roll, Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Tuma? Mr. Gallagher? Mr. Schron is absent. Ms. Conwell is absent. Ms. Turner is absent. Ms. Stevens is absent. Ms. Simon? She just stepped away for a moment. Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Council President Jones?
Yes.
Again, the motion carries.
Thank you. The ayes have it. We will adjourn the meeting for an executive session. We are reconvening the council meeting, and we are now back on the record. All right.
Council President,
Yes.
I would like the record to reflect that council members Turner and Stevens are in attendance.
Excellent, excellent. All right. And is there any miscellaneous business? If not, our meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene at 5:10. Yeah.